So what have you changed? The dressing on your hand.
Yeah, I can't even get into it. It's such a distressing ongoing saga.
Yeah.
And it better not get in the way of Gaga in Paris.
All right. Okay, well, welcome back to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong, a podcast where two exes who are still really good friends talk about life, love, politics, pop music, pop culture, and hand wounds. I'm Sean, and that's Josh. How are you, Josh?
Hi, Sean. I'm fine, thank you, apart from the ongoing saga of my infected wound on my hand, which regular viewers and listeners will know all about. But other than that,
Can you give us
fine.
a quick update? Are you getting medical assistance for this?
I'm not, no. I've eschewed all medical knowledge and assistance, and I just keep disinfecting it and dressing it, hoping that it will recover. And I think some days I think it is, and other days I'm not so sure.
And when you say dressing it, do you mean like putting it in a tutu with a little bolero?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Should we ask for thoughts and prayers from the audience?
Please, yeah. Thoughts and prayers for my wounded hand, please. I've just put a new dressing on it, so you know, you won't get a sneak peek preview of my infected wound.
There was somebody that I followed on a social media platform, and they had the name Thoughts and Prayers. And I thought that was quite funny, but I don't know who that was.
I've seen that. I remember the
Thoughts and
handle.
Prayers. Do you know what?
Prayers.
Do you know what thought means?
No, I don't.
Do you know what it infers, or
what in like that context?
If you call someone a thought.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. I thought that's why you got the joke of what funny.
No.
It's like a urban slang sort of thing. Like, but not urban. I was thinking of Urban Dictionary because that's where I had to read up what it meant.
Mm.
It's just like a colloquialism that people say stands for that hoe over there.
Oh, okay.
And, so you go, oh, she's such a thought. It's like how when we were young, we might have called somebody I don't know, what words would we have used? Slut?
I don't know. I would never have used such a word, Sue.
No, but people would have used.
Okay, so thought. Okay, I had no idea that's what it is.
But it's a kind of a little bit 10 years ago now, like that.
Okay.
But yeah, thought.
Okay.
So now you know.
I won't dress my wound up as a thought then.
No. What would you put it in to if you had to signify that it was a thought? What would it be wearing?
I don't know. I don't know. This conversation's taking a very dangerous turn.
So let's kick things off by talking about the one and the only Cyndi Lauper. Did you see Cyndi Lauper get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw that she had been. I haven't watched any.
Did you see who did the induction?
I think it was Chapel.
Yeah, Chapel Rowan. And Chapel Rowan was on the red carpet dressed in like a skirt made of ripped newspaper, which was obviously a throwback to Cyndi. What music video did Cyndi Lauper wear that in?
I don't remember.
I would guess it was True Colors.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen a Cyndi. It's so interesting, isn't it? Thinking about music videos, because it was the main way that we consumed music when we were younger.
Yeah.
Would be, music television. And now I can't remember the last time I really sat down and watched more than one music video in a row. Like, obviously when the Gaga Dead Dance video came out, I looked for that on YouTube. But I would never just sit and watch a series of music videos by different artists back to back.
Well, Derek in Brisbane, he often just has music video nights on his own. He sits on his back deck and he has a projector that he projects on the outside wall of his house. And obviously, I'm sure alcohol is involved, but he sits there and watches music videos on, I suppose, using YouTube.
But does he curate the list, or does he let it
Yes.
just sort of?
Well,
Okay.
sometimes he'll have a random one pop up, but yeah, he'll create a playlist and add things to it as he's going. So he'll often send me photos of when he's out on his back deck having video night, and he'll send me photos of like, I don't know, Shampoo or Stacey Orico or, whoever.
That sounds fun. That
Yeah,
like I do miss those days of like that anticipation as the song comes to an end of which song and which video will come on next. And
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I watch videos on YouTube, and I often will investigate the suggestions that are based on the algorithms, and that's how I
right.
found out about that band called Fortitude Valley,
Oh yeah.
because I was, I don't know, listening to, I don't know, must have been watching something that was loosely associated with it, and it popped up and it said, oh, if you like that, you might like this. And it was the music video for the song Sunshine State, and it was
Mm-hmm.
filmed, I think it was filmed near Noosa,
Mm.
on the beach, and so it was really beautiful, like in Queensland, and they're splashing around in the water. And now that's like one of my albums of the year, based just because I saw that on YouTube, and I'm actually going to see them in concert this Friday night.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
Aren't you going to Leeds for that?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny because yeah, YouTube can still work like that, but there is, like any social media, there's a lot of brain rot stuff on there.
Mm.
But
But I also am curious to know when the algorithms feed you content like that, like a band that you've not listened
Mhm.
to before. Is that based, like, what criteria is that based on? Is it analyzing the music and finding things that it thinks sound similar, or is it analyzing the viewing habits of other users and seeing where yours might sort of intersect? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
or is it analyzing? I I think that the bands put keywords, right? When you load your music to
Yeah.
YouTube, what sort of keywords or tags do you put on it?
I'm not sure I do, to be honest. I mean, I don't really load music onto YouTube. Maybe I
Well,
should.
I would say, because I listen to a lot of jangly indie pop bands, and there
Mm.
must be some way that a lot of those bands tag their music that, so, oh,
Mm.
if somebody likes the Go-Betweens or the Falling Joys or whoever,
Yeah.
or Dinosaur Jr., whoever,
Hmm.
serve them our music. Also, the algorithms, I think, are quite sophisticated. So they'll, without even those tags, that it'll know that you listen to this music. Other people who've listened to this music all listen to these like 1,000 bands. We're going to
Hmm.
randomly give you some of those
Hmm.
to see if you like them. And yeah, I get suggested a lot of things. I'd say like 1 out of 100 I actually take notice of,
Hmm. Hmm.
because there's a lot that gets served to me that I don't listen to. But so, do you know where the Rock and Roll, going back to Cyndi, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, do you know
Hmm.
where that is? Like the
Isn't it
actual
in
building?
isn't it in Minneapolis?
No, it's in Cleveland,
Oh,
Ohio.
Cleveland. Yeah,
And I
that's
was
right.
reading
Yeah.
about it after I saw that Cyndi Lauper was like inducted. It only started in like the 80s. I had this feeling that it was like really, really old, but like
No.
some guy just invented it. And
Yeah.
they,
I remember that it was a relatively recent introduction. Well, not that
yeah,
recent now, but yeah.
yeah, like 83 or something. But then after a few years of it sort
Yeah.
of existing as a concept, they then decided they wanted to build a permanent structure for it, a home for it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they had a few different cities, what do you call it, bid for the tender or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And eventually, Cleveland. And to me, that doesn't seem like a very rock and roll kind of
Well,
town.
is there a link to Cleveland with any particular band, artist, or I don't know, guitar maker, anything? Like, is there something to link rock and roll
Well,
to Cleveland?
I don't know. There must be, right? But because when I think of other cities, like if I think of Minneapolis, well, I think of Prince, and I think of a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the music that came out. If I think of Detroit, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
music. You think of New York or LA, you can think of thousands of bands or musicians that shaped
Yeah.
the cultural landscape. Even if you think someone like Memphis,
Mm-hmm.
even if you think of New Orleans, like you can think of certain types of music.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of one thing. Do you know the only point of reference I have for Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
is, and I'm not even joking, this is going to sound like a bit, but do you know the movie Tootsie?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tootsie was a movie with Dustin Hoffman where he played somebody who dressed as a woman to get a job on a soap opera.
Yeah, he was
And
sort of an out-of-work actor, not getting any parts, and then went for it.
there's this one scene in the film where he first appears on camera, and I suppose the joke was that he was an unattractive woman and that he wasn't very photogenic. And um, the director said to the cameraman, or vice versa, the camera operator, can you pull back a bit, please? You know, because they did a close shot of Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie's face. And so can you pull back a bit? And he goes, well, how far should I pull back? And he said, well, try Cleveland. Because the joke was,
that's your only reference.
That's the only thing I ever think about whenever I see the word Cleveland. I either think of Cleveland from Family Guy, like the Cleveland show, or I think of that joke in Tootsie. I don't know anything else about Cleveland, do you?
Not really. I mean, wasn't there a TV sitcom set in Cleveland in the 90s? Wasn't there a TV show called Hot in Cleveland?
Oh yeah, but that was in the 2000s, right? Or 2010s.
Was that noughties?
Wasn't it with like some of these sort of, when I say older, like maybe in their 40s and 50s,
comedians,
like women who had been stars in other sitcoms over the years? So
maybe
wasn't it
I don't think I ever watched it. I'm just saying like what I know of Cleveland.
Wasn't Betty White in it?
Maybe.
Oh, let me have a quick look because I have a feeling.
Wasn't the Drew Carey show? Wasn't that set in Cleveland?
Oh, maybe. But in Hot in Cleveland, wasn't it? What's her name from Frasier?
Which one?
Jane, the one who played Daphne,
the English one.
Yeah, and I think she was in it. I think Valerie was. Oh, hang on, let me have a look.
Okay.
Okay,
I've got a feeling the Drew Carey show was set in Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, here we go. Hot in Cleveland is an American television sitcom starring Valerie Bertinelli, Jane Leeves, who was in Frasier, Wendy Malick. You know Wendy Malick, who was in Just Shoot Me?
I'd have to see a photo.
And Betty White.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how long it ran for, but it wasn't super successful. It ran for 5 years.
Okay. And I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but with the Cure, I think were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm pretty sure they were, yeah.
And I think I could be completely misremembering this or misplacing the memory, but there is definitely a video online, and I think it's them sort of on the red carpet going into the ceremony, and you know, being a British band and Robert Smith being a sort of gothy English character. He's met by this sort of very effervescent white blonde American reporter, and she's like, she's like 500%. She's like, are you guys really excited to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Are you as excited as I am? And Robert Smith just like completely deadpan. He's like, well, clearly not, or something like that.
Yeah, clearly
like,
not as excited as you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, that's.
What else? There must be other Cleveland things. I don't know. Maybe we can have I'll do a bit of research before the next episode and we can talk about Cleveland. But honestly, the only thing that straight away comes to mind is Tootsie. Did you see who? Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say there's in the back of my mind, there's a song about Cleveland, and I'm trying to remember the name of the song, but there's definitely a song somewhere in my head about Cleveland, but I can't access those memories at the moment.
Did you see who else was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and who performed?
What, the same
this
time?
year.
Do they
Yeah, a
induct
few
multiple
days ago.
people?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
okay,
Some years they've inducted like 14 acts or something, and some years like 7. Yeah, it's not just one person.
I didn't know who else. No,
Salt-N-Pepa.
really.
And they performed with Spindrella, and it was so nice because you know how there was that time period where they kind of like booted her out and
Mm-hmm.
were like, actually, we're Salt-N-Pepa, you're not. And they were
Mm-hmm.
trying to like shop for like reality TV shows and deals without her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they all got inducted as Salt-N-Pepa, and they all performed on stage. And so Spin
Nice.
was like, DJing and rapping. She came forward to do her rap in
What song did they do?
well, they did multiple songs. They did like a medley. And then
Mm-hmm.
they were performing, and Kid and Play came out and did a little dance for a couple of seconds. And then
Nice.
and Vogue came out and sang their part for and more
Yeah.
surprising, when they did Push It, they brought out Herbie Lovebug Azor.
Oh, right.
The guy
Okay.
who was the
Yeah.
producer and like spoke or performed on Push It, and
Yeah.
it was really quite emotional that
Mm.
all of these people who were, I mean, really, it's hard to explain to people how influential Salt-N-Pepa were. But,
Yeah.
and then the people on the periphery of that, like Kid and Play and Vogue, not that En Vogue plays second fiddle to anyone, but in the concept of this, them being on that track, and then even like Herbie Azur, like it was just really emotional to see all these people on stage getting recognized in such a way.
What did
And
Cyndi perform? What songs did Cyndi do?
I haven't watched her performance,
Oh, okay.
but the only bit I did see, she was singing Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And Salt-N-Pepa came on stage and sang sort of the outro part of it with her, as did Avril Lavigne for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know if Avril Lavigne was nominated or inducted or whatever. I don't know why she was there.
Mm-hmm.
But would you consider her worthy of being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I'd not especially. I know a lot of people like her, but I don't know. Apart from that one song of hers, I just don't think she's worthy. But what I love about Avril Lavigne is the whole conspiracy theory that it's. Do you know about this? That it's not the real Avril Lavigne. Do you know
No,
about this? There was like
I don't.
there were websites dedicated to this, like about how I don't know, like 2 or 3 years into her career, she completely changed sort of personality and face shape or something. And there are like loads of people online saying that it's actually a different person,
But
that the record company replaced her.
that happens to a lot of stars, right? People get, that happened with Paul McCartney famously. That whole urban legend that went on for
Oh, yeah.
decades, that he
Yeah.
died and they had a
Yeah.
fake Paul. Anyway,
Yeah.
can you work out with your powers of deduction who they got to induct Salt-N-Pepa into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? They always bring someone out, like they brought Chaperone out for Cyndi because obviously like the links to the inspiration. Who do you think they would have brought out for Salt-N-Pepa?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't do guessing games, as you know, Sue.
You're such a miserable old bastard. Just
Yeah,
guess.
me and Robert Smith. I don't
Can you
know.
think
The
of any
Cure.
other
The
women
Cure.
can you think of any other women in hip hop who might have been a big enough name to do this, who might say they were
I don't.
inspired by Salt-N-Pepa?
Yes, I can, but I also think like. Do you also think the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing is a bit of a crock of shit? Like it
Yes. Oh,
maybe,
absolutely.
and so like I don't know if people would be just like what I'm not getting involved in that. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
So you don't even want to have a guess.
No, I don't do guessing games. You know this, Sue.
Oh my God, this is
Just
wild.
tell me. Just tell me.
It was Missy Elliott.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And she came out and she did a really great speech about how much they inspired her. And she was dressed in an outfit that was like a throwback to the Push It jackets.
Oh yeah.
She was,
Yeah.
and yeah, she was great. And she just talked about how how much they inspired her, and there would be no Missy Elliott without Salt-N-Pepa. And when Salt-N-Pepa themselves got to give their speech and give their thanks, and it was nice that Spindrella spoke, and she said that she is the first female DJ to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which I suppose there are other DJs, like people from like Run DMC and other bands were reliant on DJs, but yeah, first woman to be who's a DJ to be nominated. So anyway, that was nice. But yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame seems like a bit of a corporate, like just nothing.
Yeah, it just seems like let's create this out of nothing. As a way
even
of
more so than things like the Grammys and stuff. It just
well,
feels
especially like if I didn't realize until this conversation today that they're inducting multiple people every year. It's not that special then, like it's, I don't know.
Well, and did you remember a few years ago when Dolly Parton was nominated? And she
Yeah.
turned it down because she said, I'm not a rock
I'm
and
not
roll
rock and
person."
roll.
And
Yeah.
then they said, no, well, we're going to do it anyway. They just said,
Yeah.
like, no, we're going to nominate you anyway. And so she went and recorded a rock album, like a rock covers album. I love Dolly so much. So anyway, that's talking of the Grammy Awards. Have you seen that they released the nomination for the Grammy Awards?
No, I have
And
not.
the I don't know, Gaga got nominated for like 7 awards or something. But I don't understand. They have a category called Record of the Year, which is a single song, right? Like, because they have Album of the Year.
Okay. Yeah.
But they have Record of the Year, which is a song. And then they have another category called Song of the Year. And I can't work out what the difference is. Like, what would the difference between be a Record of the Year, which is one single song, or a Song of the Year, which is one single song?
I mean, would it be to do with, being the Grammys, would it be to do with recognizing just a well-written song on its own, and then as opposed to recognizing a record in the sense of production, marketing, record label involvement, I don't know, video, mastering, like the whole package? Would they draw a distinction of that? I don't know. Maybe.
It's such a weird thing. And once again, the Grammys just seem like nonsense.
Yeah. All these award ceremonies are, apart from the ones where I think it is voted for by the public, when it's like a committee, when it's a board, I just feel like it's so open to corruption.
And then, yeah, like, I suppose it would be different if you were nominated for one. You might feel it was somewhat special.
Yeah.
Like when I nominated and won a Veg Fest award for Vegan Blogger of the Year.
Best vegan blogger. Mm-hmm.
Do you know that I was awarded that one by Viva Campaigns? It's an animal rights thing. And they gave it to me last year when they saw me from 6 years ago. They said, we didn't get around to giving this to you. And they gave me a framed certificate.
I think they were just having an office cleanup.
Maybe an office joke. Can we swivel to stay on music, but I just want to mention something else to you. I watched a documentary on Netflix about Juan Gabriel. Have you seen this advertised?
No.
What do you know about Juan Gabriel?
Not a huge amount, just that he's is he Mexican?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know him as a Mexican singer, but then I always wonder, like, whether maybe he'd been born in Spain or something. I don't know, but I know him as a Mexican singer, sort of a folk, Mexican folk ballad singer. That's about all
any
I
of his
know.
music?
No. I know, what's that song? One of my ex-boyfriends used to sing it to me all the time, but what are the lyrics?
Querida?
No.
Noah. You remember that one? Remember the gay men choir sang that?
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Tú me dijiste adiós. That's all I'm trying to remember the lyrics, but yeah, I don't know.
So this documentary, in the English title they've given it is "I Must, I Can, I Will," but the Spanish title is "Debo, Puedo y Quiero." So it doesn't really
Okay.
translate the same way, but I don't know
Mm,
why they've done it like that. But it is fascinating. He home video recorded every element of his life
really?
from when he was very young and especially when he first started, even before he got fame. So this documentary was made with the help of one of his sons, and it is all of this sort of not found footage because they knew where it was, but
Mm,
all of this home recording spliced together with professional stuff. The entire thing, 4 hour part documentary, is all behind the scenes footage and him talking in the first person, people that he was in his life. It is so
mm-hmm.
fascinating. I would highly recommend watching it. But did you know, spoiler alert, when he was very young, he was in prison, I think 3 times. And his story of overcoming hardship, like he was originally put in to like a care home by his mother who didn't want to look after him. And
Where was he?
th-
Where did he grow up? Where was he born? And
like in the north somewhere. Um
okay,
maybe
I just
maybe
checked the
like,
the name of the name of the song is called "Tu Me Dijiste Adios." That's the name of
oh,
the song.
okay.
So
I think
yeah,
he's maybe
that's
from Juarez.
okay.
And he what happened to him when he was young, and the poverty and the violence and the violence he experienced in prison. He was a queer person, and he was, ridiculed and uh, targeted because of that. It really instilled in him this driving, burning desire to be loved and to give love to people. And so when he made a lot, I mean, he was so incredibly popular. He made so much money. I mean, going back into the 80s and 90s, for a Mexican performer to have tens of millions of US dollars gives you an
Mm,
idea of how big he was, how popular he was.
yeah.
And he had children, some even who have come forward and said, "Hey, he never recognized me while he was alive, but I'm his
Mm,
child." So there were
mm-hmm.
4 official children and then a couple who said they were his kids. But he had he never came out as a gay man. There's a really famous interview with him where the interviewer said to him, "Juan Gabriel, are you gay?" And Juan Gabriel said something similar to, um, "You don't need to ask what you can see in front of you."
Mm,
Like, that's what he
okay.
said to him. And it's very, very sad. It is so upsetting, the documentary, but also weirdly inspirational because of how prolific he was with his songwriting, like how beloved he was. And there were like this footage of him performing, and they were like, you know, grown macho Mexican men crying in his concerts. And he was so, so adored by the public.
Mm.
But he
He wrote
also,
he wrote a good he wrote a good ballad, didn't he? You know, he was just such a crooner.
yeah, it was very
Um,
to me, it seemed very corny, but, a lot of Mexican people feel like it, yeah, it really speaks to their culture. And
mm.
it just got me thinking that I think he might be the Mexican equivalent of Dolly Parton
Oh, really? Okay.
because he released he wrote thousands of songs,
Mhm.
and he just was like this sort of standard um, artistic force in Mexican pop culture that everyone
Mm.
sort of used as a point of reference. Like
And
if you,
also, you know, when you say, you know, he's a little corny. Well,
yes,
Dolly's the same. Like for a long part of her career, her life, people have always thought of her as very corny. And growing up, I kind of thought she was very corny.
yeah,
Um, and that's to do with her genre, like musical genre and the production and stuff like that. But like the quality of the songs does kind of transcend all of that, and it's the
yeah,
same with Juan Gabriel, I think. Um,
and and also the same between Juan Gabriel and Dolly Parton. A lot of it is very simple but very
mhm,
effective. Like
yeah,
you wouldn't think of Dolly Parton as a lyricist, like in the same vein as someone like Amy Mann, who
mhm,
would use clever wordplay or literary devices to make you think while you're
Yeah.
listening. It's all very
Oh,
earnest and very.
just as a very quick tangent, have you heard? I just saw it. I found it on Spotify last night. Have you heard Aimee Mann's done a cover of "Rainy Days and Mondays"?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
nice.
I listened to it yesterday as well. It's from a TV show called The Chair Company.
Oh,
There's this
okay.
new, it's actually on my notes for today, Sue, but
Oh.
it's a comedy thriller on HBO by an actor comedian called Tim Robinson, and he wrote it, co-wrote it, and he plays the lead in it. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
only 5 episodes, but it's on HBO, so I don't know how we'll watch it. I don't have HBO. And
No, neither.
but it's been getting rave reviews from TV
Mm.
critics or pop culture critics, and yeah, he for some reason has asked Aimee Mann to record this version of Rainy Days and Mondays. What did you think of her
And
version of it?
I loved it. I mean, I love the original. I mean, and when I saw that she'd covered it, I thought, wow, that's bold because I mean, it's to cover a Carpenter's song. But I think Aimee Mann does it brilliantly. I mean, Aimee Mann's got a depth to her vocals. It's not, it's not as rich and as what's the
Atmospheric.
word? Atmospheric, maybe, yeah, as Karen Carpenter, but it's equally good in a different way. Like Aimee Mann's is much more haunting. Karen had a very sweet, um, lovely, warm voice. Aimee Mann has a more haunting element to it, but it works in that song. I mean, it's an incredible song. I don't know who wrote that song, but it's an incredibly well written song as well.
How fortunate for Karen Carpenter that she didn't live long enough to see her name become a slur.
What do you mean?
Karen, when people call people
Oh,
Karen.
like Karen, right? Okay, I was like, what? Yeah, okay,
But
yeah.
decades ago, I used to say to people, I think Aimee Mann sounds like Karen Carpenter. Like I used to say
Okay.
that, and people would be like, "Oh, you're mad. You don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "No, dude,
Mm.
she's got a similar tone in her
Hmm.
voice, or like a depth or something to it."
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, there's a melancholy, and even I know I just said like Karen had a sweet voice. I think there was sometimes a melancholy element
oh,
to
all the
her
time. It
vocals.
just sounded sad when she sang.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But Aimee Mann's done another Carpenter song, hasn't she,
has
in the
she?
past? Yeah, wasn't she on that Wasn't she?
Well, I
Didn't
wish I
she?
was a carpenter.
Yeah, was she on that?
That
Or
covers
she?
album.
I'm sure she did another.
I don't
Um,
I don't remember. What? Oh, she didn't do Yesterday Once More. No.
Now, if I search Aimee Mann Carpenters, it's only going to give me results for this last
What
thing. So
about if
it's
you
all.
search for that album, I Wish I Was a Carpenter? I'm trying to remember who
Um,
else was on
oh
that.
no, yeah, she did yesterday once more,
Okay, yeah.
but that wasn't on that. It was from. Let me just see where it was from. Oh my god, I'm trying to look something up on YouTube, and it's like the ads are
Is
wild.
that? I don't
It
think
was.
that album is on Spotify. I Wish I Was a Carpenter. Is that
It
the name
was.
of it? Am I misremembering the name?
No, that was that, and it was like Sonic Youth were on there, and
Yeah.
oh, there was an HBO show called Vinyl. I don't know what it was about, and
Oh,
Yesterday
and that
Once
was
More was from that, but I don't know what the show was about, but it was another
yeah,
HBO song. Aimee
yeah,
Mann is such a, go-to. She's such a lovey. She's so in that world of creative, serious, artistic people. Like
yeah,
Paul Thomas Anderson, Patton Oswalt, and everyone. They're all so. It's like this closed little circle of serious artists who look out for each other, and so she always gets asked to do music for TV shows. Or what was that other
yeah,
show? She was singing in the bar. She was
yeah.
playing a bar singer.
That was in she did the cover of the Cars song, didn't she?
Yeah, who's
Drive.
gonna drive you home? Yeah.
And that
What
was
was
in
what was that?
that was
Oh,
in the it was a
that Ryan
serial
Murphy thing.
killer.
Yeah, that Ryan
Yeah,
Murphy
oh,
show.
it was the killing of Gianni Versace,
Versace.
I
Yeah,
think. Is that what it was called?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
With the
yeah,
guy with Darren Criss, who was from
yeah,
Glee.
yeah. Penelope Cruz, I think, was she in it? And
Well, oh, did she play
she played
Donatella?
Donatella, yeah.
Donatella.
Speaking of Amy Mann, I sent you the article earlier this week about the Guardian wrote top was it top 20 songs of Amy Mann, and
Yeah, very
we
weird
were
article.
saying like it's odd that they would just out of the blue do that, and I'm praying, thoughts and prayers that Amy Mann is about to announce a European tour. I mean, I haven't seen her for so long, and I would love to see her again. Like,
Yeah, she doesn't like to travel overseas. She doesn't like to
no, she
fly
doesn't
on
like
planes.
flying. When did you last see Aimee?
I honestly can't remember. Like, it has been such a long time ago. I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to guess where I last saw her. And there was a period where I was seeing her like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And
Well, we
and
would go
then
to the States really often, and she did a few European tours back in the noughties, I guess, in the
did we see her
2010s.
in Australia? Didn't we
I
go and see her?
I don't think I've ever seen her in Australia.
I don't know if I'm imagining. Everything is just blurry in my brain. Like, I can't remember facts, dates,
Yeah. I don't
anything.
know. I don't know if she's ever toured Australia
Well, maybe that article was just like a bit of PR because of this show
because of the
where she's
rainy
done this
days
song.
and Mondays. Yeah, possibly. Um, I would love to. I'm trying to think. Well, I think the last time I saw Amy was in New York. Is when I was living in Mexico, and I'd maybe gone to Philadelphia to see my brother and my family
Yeah.
there, and then was flying back from New York, and I went to see her in Brooklyn somewhere. I can't remember the name of the venue, and it was Jonathan Colton. Is that his name?
Coulter?
Coulter? Yeah,
Colton?
Coulter.
I don't know.
Um, he opened for her, and it was summer in New York. It was like so hot and humid, and then it was raining so hard. And I was on my way to the airport. I was flying back to Mexico from, I think from LaGuardia,
Yeah.
but I had to go from the Amy Mann show to the airport. It was an overnight flight. And so I had all my suitcases with me, and I'd like been in touch with the venue. But then I remember it was raining so heavy. I went and met, do you know Drew? Do you remember Drew Fryer?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I went and met him for pizza somewhere in Brooklyn, some vegan pizza place. And then I went from there to the gig, and it started raining so heavy that when Jonathan Coulter was on stage, everyone's phone set off like one of those emergency alerts.
Yeah.
And so in the middle of one of his songs, suddenly there was like like really loud alerts, and even his like Apple Watch that he was wearing like started alerting and stuff, and it was like about like flash flood warning and stuff because of the rain. It was all very dramatic and exciting.
And what year
But
would that have been?
I don't know, like that would have been maybe
2019?
yeah, I would say it was pre-COVID. So yeah, I would say 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah, well, I obviously haven't seen her since before then. So we're talking probably about 8 years or something.
Mm,
I would love to see her. I was
yeah,
looking because she's doing all these dates for the end of the year. She's doing her Christmas show that she
I
does.
know. With Nellie
Um,
McKay. Yeah,
yeah, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, I wonder if I could go." And I'm like, "I'm not. I don't think I could go to the US. Like, I just don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's something that I'm comfortable doing." Or
Mm.
anyway, I've got Gaga to keep me happy. I've got 2 Gaga shows before the end of the year.
Oh
Plus,
yeah,
do you
that's
know where I'm
right.
going? Do you know where I'm going tonight?
No.
5 Bad Boys with the Power to Rock
Oh
You.
my God, of course, yeah.
Blowing your
Jesus
mind, so you gotta get
Christ.
into. Can you name the 5 members of 5?
J
Yeah.
Abs.
Mhm.
Hang on. J Abs.
You've got 2.
How many were there? Just kidding. Um
15.
J Abs. God, no, I can't.
Who was
Paul?
the one that was
No, there
dating
wasn't a
Billie
Paul, was
Piper
there?
for a while?
Yeah, I can picture him, but I can't remember his name.
Richie. Richie.
Richie, yes, of course. Richie
Okay.
Abs.
One of them
Yeah, no.
has the same name as one of the hosts of this podcast that we're on currently.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, it's not me. So Sean.
Sean.
Sean,
And
Abs, Jay, Richie, and no.
you want to know what hit you like a forklift truck? We've got J, A, B, Rich, Sean, and they say it in that song, Scott.
Oh, okay. I never
You
would
wouldn't
have
have
got
got
that.
that?
No. Okay.
But
So you're
I've got to
seeing
go
them at
to,
the at my
yeah, I've got to
favorite
go to
venue,
the
the O2.
O2, and I'm
Mm.
just dreading it. Also,
You're going on
just a
your
bit,
own.
yeah, is it a bit weird? Like I'm going to see a boy band from the late 90s on my own at the O2 with like 15,000 people or however many more. I'm standing on my own in the standing section in front of the stage. And in my mind, I keep thinking, oh my God, there's going to be all these young women there, but obviously everyone's going to be 40 or 50 years old,
Yeah.
right? But I'm still going to be a single bloke on my own. I just am going to look like a creep, right?
Maybe. I don't know. There
Do
might
you,
be a lot of people in your demographic.
what, like socially unaligned, misaligned,
I didn't say that, Sue. I
like,
just meant like men in their 40s and 50s, ex,
like,
aging pop fans.
oh my
I
God.
can't believe you spend your money to go and see them, but not see Suzanne Vega at the Albert Hall last week.
I bought these ticket. I bought this ticket somehow when I had money, and then when it came around to Suzanne Vega, I was like, "Oh, I can't afford that." Because what happened was I committed to Gaga in Paris and 5 at the O2 and something else, and then Suzanne Vega announced, and the tickets for Suzanne Vega were quite
And
expensive.
Gaga in Australia, maybe, Sue.
Well, very, very generously, Derek is not charging me for that ticket. So I'm going to see Gaga at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane.
Wow.
Although my sister Michelle just sent me a video weather alert. Apparently in December, in January, there's going to be some sort of La Nina weather. You know how people in Australia love saying La Nina and El Nino about the weather?
Yeah,
They
that's all they talk about down under.
And well, apparently there's going to be like a lot of tropical storm, like cyclone activity in December and
Oh, yeah.
rain. So I'm just hoping.
And that
hoping.
Suncorp Stadium is famously very prone to flooding.
So thoughts and prayers for the Gaga concert in Brisbane that we don't get rained out or thunderstormed out. Do you know when I saw back in '93, would it have been the Girly Show tour, Madonna?
Yeah, 93, I think.
We saw her. Do you know there was that big stadium? It used to be like for the Commonwealth Games or something. It was in the south side of the city and
Not the Gabba.
like Chandler. No, it was way out. It was like surrounded by
Oh,
bushland.
not near Sunnybank.
Yeah, like kind of that way. And it was the
Yeah,
area was
yeah,
called Chandler. So it was this big
yeah.
old thing. And when we saw Madonna there in '93, so it held like 40,000 people or something. And it was raining and it was so dire because Madonna had never toured Australia. Never anyone thought she would ever go to Brisbane. And it was one night only. And we were just like, people refused to move. There was like lightning, rain, like torrential rain. And she just came out and did the show. She was like,
Yeah.
well, screw this. I'm just doing it. But I'm worried that now with health and safety, woke gone mad, health and safety gone mad in 2025, I'm worried that if there's even a chance of a thunderstorm on the horizon, Gaga
Well,
might cancel.
especially with Gaga, because she famously ended her last tour, didn't she?
Well, she's ended a couple of
Prematurely
them early. 2 of the tours she's ended prematurely.
because of thunderstorms.
Well, there might have been other reasons, but that's not for now, Sue.
Hmm.
But you were telling me, you sent me a link to a story about mobile phones in schools. What was that all about?
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten I'd sent you that.
You're looking at
I
me like, what the hell are you
yeah,
talking
I did. I think that was your other friend, Josh. Yeah, no, I did. I thought it was just interesting because it was an article written in the UK and it was about there's a sort of like I don't know if it's a class, I don't know if it's termed as a class action lawsuit, but there is a group of students and their families in schools in the UK who are suing the Department for Education because they've been exposed to explicit content in schools. And that's been from other students. And there's a lawsuit, I suppose, which contests that students in schools who are in the care of the Department of Education for the day should not be subjected to things like that. And there was a young student down in Cornwall, I think she was, talking about the things that she'd seen on other students' mobile phones. You know, people will come up to her at school and shove a mobile phone in her face, and she's seen, you know, like people being killed, explicit pornography, stuff like that, you know. And it I don't know, I mean, it's makes you think about what we want for children, what we want for society, and what we can do to protect children, and not just children, but protect all people from seeing explicit content that they don't want to see.
And what do you think when people talk about any sort of conversation like this could lead to the curtailing of freedom of speech? What would you say to those sorts of people?
Well, I don't understand in what way it would curtail the freedom of speech. I think there's freedom of speech as an important right to defend, but then also the flip side that balances that out is there also needs to be freedom to not be exposed to thoughts and ideas and content that we don't want to see. And I don't know. I don't think, like, in what sense could freedom of speech be brought into that? Like that I have the freedom of sharing a video of people being beheaded if I want to? Is that?
Well, I suppose the area that becomes murky is that it's very difficult to control what content is on a phone once you have the phone. So the way that these people are proposing to have some sort of control is to limit children's access to phones the time they're in school.
Yeah.
So that's where freedom of speech campaigners are saying, regardless of what side or how you feel about it, we don't think we should be telling anybody when they can or can't have their phone with them. But all of the things that different schools and authorities have tried to put in place to control this just don't work because kids will find a way around it. So these young people and their families are now, well, they're saying that phones should just not be allowed in schools.
Yeah. I don't see that as a freedom of speech thing, having a device. I don't think that's a freedom of speech issue. Like, children can have devices in the home, outside of school, you know, wherever. But I don't know. I'm really torn about whether kids should have access to phones in school. I can see the benefits of it from a safety perspective.
Yeah.
But then I know I've seen like horrific things, especially in like apps like X and stuff like that, you know, like I see horrible content that I don't want to see. And there is no way of, you know, there's no way, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think there is a way of children, minors having phones, and there being no risk of them seeing explicit content. I think there will always be ways around it, no matter what software you try and install or what boundaries you try and put in place. There will always be explicit content. Will find a way of making its way through.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
Well, I think that schools are controlled environments. So I think it's okay to have rules. Like, you wouldn't be able to bring like a pornographic magazine into a school. Like, you couldn't bring like a Playboy magazine or Penthouse magazine with pictures of nude people in it, naked people in it,
you couldn't
and leave it sitting out or hold it up to somebody and go, "Hey, look at this!" Like, you would be thrown out of school.
You've got to think of it like you would any other medium, like social media has to be thought of like other media, and like print
Yeah.
pornography or print depictions of, people being killed would not be
Yeah.
allowed in school. So yeah.
Like when I was working in a school, one of the children used to like me to bring in, the Metro newspaper. It's the free newspaper you get on public
Yeah.
transport in London and in lots of other
Yeah.
cities around the world. That one of the kids used to like doing the puzzles in it and asked me to get it on my way to work each morning because they lived just walking distance to school. And
Mhm.
after a while, I said to them, "Look, I can't do this anymore because there's content in this newspaper that is not suitable. Even
Mm.
though it's out in the world, any child could pick it up and nobody would be there to stop them." I
Mhm.
said, "In this space, I have a duty of care, and I can't bring this into the classroom because it would have stories of a sexual nature or
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
things that kids should be aware about, but there should be context and um, explanation and guidance through these topics.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
give them like a newspaper or a telephone without the guidance, it can be
Mm.
very damaging. So yeah, I'd also, as somebody who used to be a teacher, I couldn't imagine children in my class having phones just from the concentration aspect.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
would be wanting to look at their phones all the time. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think there should be phones in schools. But then
Mm.
you're gonna if you give the phones back to the kids at the end of the day, they're gonna show each other this stuff on the bus on the way home or walking home.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
there. It's gonna be there. So you could remove it from the classroom or the school grounds, but you're not
Yeah.
gonna remove it from children's lives. So
No.
there needs to be a deeper conversation about how we educate young people about being digital critical thinkers and how to
Mm.
understand the content they're seeing and what it might be doing to them. Um,
I mean, you and I, we have a lot of conversations on this podcast
yeah,
about, how we feel that civilization is just on a self-destructive path. And I do think this the sort of proliferation of social media and the expanse of the internet is a part of that, because for all the
yeah,
good that it does or it brings to our lives, it also, it brings a lot of risk, a lot of danger as well, and a lot of damage to people. And I know that, children start looking for porn. I mean, this is an average, but studies have shown that children start looking for porn at the age of 12. And we have discussed on this podcast before as well about how porn algorithms or online algorithms are now directing people, no matter what age they are directing people who search for porn online towards more and more violent and problematic um, imagery and pornography. I mean, some people would argue that all pornography is damaging, but there is a
yeah.
definite trend towards more violent pornography.
Well, we talked about that topic when we were talking about an episode of Now and Men a few months
Mm,
ago, a
mm,
few weeks ago. That's a podcast with Sandy Ruxton and Stephen Burrell, and where they talk about modern masculinity and the problems with toxic masculinity. And so they
hmm
were talking about that,
hmm
how young men are being trained or conditioned with these
or
ideas of
steered
how,
towards, yeah, yeah,
yeah, and so they're the algorithms are steering them to the more outrageous or dangerous content,
mm,
or more exploitative content, and then in
hmm
turn that's creating attitudes of young boys and young men towards women. And I
hmm
just listened to an episode of Now and Men this week as well, and it had a special guest professor, Stephen Roberts from Monash University, and he deals a lot with um, transitions of young people into adulthood in all different
hmm
realms. And he was talking about how valid are concerns that masculinity is under attack. So, similarly, like what we're saying, if these freedom of speech crusaders, they'll often go down this men's right path where they say,
hmm
well, you just don't want us to watch sexy women because you don't want us to be real men. And so you've got
hmm
people like Andrew Tate who are horrible, violent misogynists and sexual abusers who are creating content, and it's being directed and fed to young boys and young men who there's nobody there to tell them, hey, this is kind of not cool, that, or this is what this is doing to you. And in turn, it's like when you try and kick back against that or push back against it, there's this manufactured outrage from people like, I don't know, Nigel Farage or Andrew Tate. There's this manufactured outrage saying that masculinity is under attack. And it's all tied up into this weird, like, there's this freedom of speech people, and they cross over with the men's rights people, and then that crosses over to like transphobia and people who are like gender critical. But also, what was interesting was that Professor Stephen Robert said that it ties into this manufactured outrage that is racist as well. You'll often get the crossover from these people who are standing up for boys and men's rights, and that's like a pipeline to like anti-immigration as well. And it's very, very interesting, but also extremely depressing hearing all of the statistics and hearing what's happening to young people, like, you know, to boys and girls and otherwise, what's happening to people with how social media is conditioning people to feel certain ways and taking them on these pipelines.
Yeah, and also just the construct of masculinity in modern day societies, where certain things are still seen as masculine and feminine, you know, and
Yes.
the feminine things are seen as negative qualities for young boys and young men to take on. Things like, I mean, the really obvious stuff, you know, like being sensitive, showing emotion, expressing emotion, but then, you know, things like education, like the notion of wanting to pursue education is seen as, you know, as unmasculine. And the sort of the way
Well,
that modern masculinities discourage education.
but it's interesting. Like Professor Robert also said that boys don't often have to try as hard at school because of male privilege in life, and so women and girls are conditioned to, if you want to have more than what you might normally get, you have to go and work extra hard at school. You have to go and do 2 degrees or whatever it is you need to do, because even men with less qualifications, academic qualifications, will get further in the workplace and will be paid more than women usually.
Yeah.
And so you've got all of this mixed up stuff going on, plus you've got the gender inequality in workplaces. But Professor Robert also wrote an article back in 2021. It was published on the 28th of April, 2021. And it was called A Very Personal Call to Action for Non-Violent Men to Denounce Men's Violence. You can read it. I don't know if you want to put a link. I think I sent you the link,
Yeah,
but it's
I'll put a
published
link
on the
in there.
Monash University website. And it just, you know, talks about how, like, it's so often or all the time it's left up to women and girls to speak up against men's violence. And to be effective and to enact change, it needs to be non-violent men speaking up and holding people accountable or setting the standard of what's acceptable, instead of it just being about raising up women's voices, because that it's never going to work um, unless that happens. Also, this story, I would put a trigger warning or content warning about the story. It's a very personal story from the professor about his own life, experiencing violence growing up at the hands of men, extreme violence against him and his mother. And it's quite upsetting to read. But one thing that I find really interesting, that this isn't in the story, but he related to it in the podcast, was he talked about the shame, not the shame, the how unfortunate it is that we need to go through hardship or pain to to build solidarity. Like, people who don't go through hardship don't normally give a shit about anybody else, but it's the people like
Okay.
him who have gone through this violence, who have learnt the understanding and the value of showing solidarity with other victims and trying to enact change. And he said, so it's good that there are people who want to make change and speak up and hold other men accountable, like he is doing. But on the other hand, most of those people have to go through the abuse themselves to understand. And that's the really
Yeah,
sad
that's
irony
the
of it, you
sad.
know?
Yeah, and the other sort of the adjacent thing to that is that, you know, not everybody who goes through that hardship does come out with more compassion and what a desire to change the world for the better for other people. Sometimes, you know, it's that classic, you know, the abused becomes the abuser thing, where somebody who goes through that sort of hardship does not find that sort of compassionate route, but they externalize it and become abusive themselves, which is
Also, yeah, he talked about something that resonated with me, and I found it actually quite upsetting listening to and then reading this story, but it really resonated with me about what violence, exposure to violence does to young men
Mhm,
and how it disenfranchises them.
mhm,
And he told stories about himself and other people who were excelling in an academic setting in school. And then over the time when they were experienced of violence or abuse,
mhm.
they disassociated or disconnected with the education system.
Yeah,
And that happened to me. Like, I mean, there
yeah,
couldn't be a clearer example. Like, I was in primary school, I was like a straight A student and class captain and uh, teacher's pet and whatever else you want to call it or name it. And I was so studious, like I was so into it. And when abuse happened in my life, like in a very drastic scale,
mhm,
I went from one extreme to the other. I ran away from school. I would go and
mhm,
hide at the beach and not go to school. So I went from going to not more than going to school. I was like playing tennis on the school sports team. I would go and I don't know, all the extracurricular activity, like the school disco, anything I was involved in.
mm, mm.
And I would get teased for being the teacher's pet. To I couldn't even
You didn't
look
finish
at
school,
any.
did you? You didn't.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't even finish high school.
yeah.
So I couldn't even look at any of my friends or colleagues or teachers or anyone from school when I was a tween. I couldn't even look them in the face anymore. Like,
Mhm,
I didn't even want anyone to look at me. And that broke me, and I've been struggling ever since. And, you know, thankfully or fortunately, I haven't been down a route of hurting, physically hurting other people, like that would happen to a lot of young men, boys and men.
mhm,
But
mhm.
I've had my fair share of uh, traumatic things play out or act out, you know,
Yeah,
from like too much alcohol or self harm or
mm,
lack of stability, mental health problems. So, you know, what that does to young people's brains
mhm,
is it's it's irreversible.
mm.
There are some, you know, for some
And
people are fortunate enough to find ways to cope with it, but
yeah,
for a lot of people, it is it impacts them, like it impacts us
yeah.
significantly for the rest of our lives.
And I think, you know, you can attest to this as can many other people. Like, a lot of times people think they've survived, um, you know, violence or abuse or any sort of traumatic experience growing up or traumatic period growing up. They think they may have survived it without any scars. And then you kind of, you know, you get to your 40s and suddenly all these things start surfacing physically and mentally and emotionally, and they, you know, you don't, you know, you really have to work hard to overcome them. There's no way you can sort of escape them. You think you might have, and you might be able to cover up some of the trauma with, you know, lifestyle, drugs, substances, whatever. But ultimately, they will catch up with you. So, and I don't know, our listeners and viewers may be aware of this, but I don't know if you wanted to. I know we've not got a lot of time left, but do you want to just do a short, sort of encapsulated history of your experience of male violence growing up? I mean, people can read your book if they want, but
Well, it's not all in the book because a lot of it was not fit for publication in that type of book that I did. If I wrote a warts and all sort of in the style of Lily Allen songwriting, I might put everything in there. But I went from having a very tumultuous childhood where my father was an alcoholic who was extremely violent, to having multiple residences with my mother where it wasn't safe, and that included living in tents on the beach, living in caravans, living in tents on multiple beaches, different men that she was either been in relationships or friendships with coming in and out of my life, some of them violent. Or in all that time, my father was also violent when I had to see him. And when I say violent, he used corporal punishment. Sometimes it was organized, sometimes it was random, sometimes then it was he was drunk, he would lash out. Then also the men in my mother's life would sometimes be violent and hit me. There was also sexual abuse. I won't speak to other people's experiences, but I also, as a child, experienced sexual abuse at the hands of men. And when I would run away from home as a tween to try and escape violence and dysfunction, I was also at risk and suffered at abuse at the hands of men, violent and sexual abuse at the hands of older men. And that, from as young as I can remember, I lived in fear of men, and it was dangerous, and I was hurt. And it's very hard to explain to somebody who hasn't lived through that what it does to your psychological makeup or how it makes you feel in the world. Similarly, I was talking about Juan Gabriel at the beginning and how he had this unquenchable desire to give love and be loved. And what drove him, he was a talented artist, but more than that, he had this like undeniable desire to be famous and feel love from huge amounts of people. I think that has a lot to do with why I became fat gay vegan, and why not only did I want to do good things for animals, people, and the planet, but I really wanted to try and redress the abandonment and the fear that I felt and still feel from when I was a child right up until now. And that if people would say, hey, you're special, or you helped me go vegan, or I like what you do for people and animals, it would somehow fix all of that hurt and anger and sadness in me. And it doesn't work, of course. I mean, sometimes it's nice to hear people say nice things about you, but those things are things that you can only reckon with yourself on your own
Yeah,
time
and
and your
they're
own terms.
they're the things that only sort of years of therapy can attempt to redress and rebalance. And that's the other thing. Just thinking, listening to your story and thinking about the article you mentioned, it's really difficult to redress that when people are young and they experience abuse, whether it's just just belittle it, but just violent physical abuse, or whether it's sexual abuse or a combination, or mental abuse, all sorts of different forms of abuse. When they experience that, the response often, if somebody had approached you as a teenager or as a young adult and said, how do you feel affected by it, you wouldn't have had you probably wouldn't have had the emotional vocabulary or understanding or insight to be able to verbalize or articulate how it had affected you, and how it affected you in the past, and how it was affecting you at that moment in time. And thinking about children in schools, like teachers would notice, for example, when a grade A student suddenly becomes withdrawn and suddenly becomes less academic. But
Yeah.
I just don't feel like schools and teachers are so overworked as it is. I don't know if we have the structures in place in society to really intervene at that point in time in a young person's life. And
But a lot of it is it's so complex and complicated. Like young boys and men and young men and boys are conditioned to not to speak up. But also, even the adults in the world think boys and young men are more resilient
yeah,
and that it
yeah,
doesn't affect them as much. And I
yeah.
mean, my life was torn apart, like absolutely in shreds. And nobody, like she passed away, so I can't be sued. No, I wouldn't be sued anyway. But a relative of mine had a conversation with me a few years ago where I told her all of this.
Mm,
And she said, well, do you resent the rest of us in the family? We knew what your father was like. Do you resent the rest of us not, you know, doing anything? And I said, yes. Like, yeah, like as a child, I couldn't help myself. Like
mm,
I am angry and resentful for all the adults in my life for not doing something to help
yeah.
me, whether that
To
was call the
know.
police or come and confront, but they were all scared of him as well. Like all of
Mm,
my father's family were all scared of him and lived in fear and thought that he was going to kill them. Like,
mm,
and so it was this cycle of violence from when they were children. And yeah, I was so angry at my relatives for not speaking up. And, you know, it's the reason why I don't speak to my mother as well is because she knew that I was in dangerous situations, or my siblings were as well,
mm,
harm and abusive situations, and didn't remove us from it. And so
mm,
it's very hard to reconcile that with your child brain. And the part of me that is hurt and injured and carries that pain feels like a child still. Like I feel
mm.
like a
Yeah,
little boy who was
yeah.
injured.
That's classic sort of trauma, isn't it? To have that emotion stuck at that sort of age that you were.
Yeah.
Well, we do need to wrap up. I know it's a bit of a clunky segue to sort of go from that to being like, well, folks, but we do need to end things there. We can talk about it more though in a future episode. I think there's a lot more to unpack and a lot more to talk
Well,
about.
tonight I'm going to go see 5 positive representations of masculinity
Yeah,
at the
if you
5
got the
concert.
feeling, jump up to the ceiling.
If you're getting
I
down.
if you're getting down tonight. So enjoy 5. You'll have to tell us all about it in next week's episode. I was just going to say, do subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and we'll be back in your feeds this time next week. I'm so sick of saying that, and I say the same thing every week.
We'll say
I
something
think
different.
you should say it. You should do it, but you can do it next week. But until then, folks, stay safe and take care of yourselves.
And don't forget to slam dunk the funk. Bye.
Bye.